Hey, what's going on, you guys? In today's video, we're going to be doing a review here on my 2024 McLane Low Cut Series Reel Mower. Now, this is going to be a pretty short and straight to the point video. Basically, I'm just going to go ahead and give you my thoughts and opinions on this mower now that I've been using it for the past 6.5, going on 7 months now. Obviously, I've used it pretty much throughout this whole entire season of this year. So I felt like I have obviously got enough time using this mower to go ahead and give you my honest thoughts and opinions on it. Also saw this as a good opportunity to go ahead and put this video out for someone who is looking into getting their first powered reel mower, as this is obviously one of many options you could obviously choose from. So I felt like it was a good opportunity there, as well as I also have seen that there's not a whole lot of videos on this newer McLane Low Cut Series version. So saw that as a good opportunity as well to go ahead and do a review on this mower in specific. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get this video started. Guys, I forgot to mention, this is the 20-inch version with the LCT engine on it. So there are different versions of this. You can get obviously the 25-inch, and then you can also option for two other engines, which is the Briggs & Stratton engine and also the Honda GX engine. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a couple things I dislike right off the bat. I'm gonna be starting here at the front part of the mower, and what I will say is I'm not a big fan of this grass catcher. Now, granted, it obviously does what it's designed to do. It catches the grass, so there's no issue there. However, I just don't like the overall design of this. If you look at a lot of other reel mowers on the market, if you look at their grass catchers, I feel like they are a lot more lower profile, which means, you know, they sit a little bit closer to the ground for one, and then for two, they're a lot more compact shaped and they're shaped a lot better. This, to me, in my opinion, I feel like you could almost cut this in half and you can get rid of a lot of this material and it would still do its job just fine. So there's that part. And then for two, obviously, I feel like they could design it to where it sits a lot more lower profile and it just fits the mower a lot better. This, I feel like it almost was just an afterthought, like, let's just design this grass catcher real quick so we can put it on the mower. That's kind of almost what I feel like it was. Granted, I'm not saying that's how they did it, but overall, I feel like they could have just designed the grass catcher a little bit better. Which leads me into my next point. Now, go ahead and take this off. As you can see, I'm running a front roller on my setup right now. And if you look here on the grass catcher, as you can see, they have cutouts here on both sides of the grass catcher. Now, those cutouts are meant for the caster wheels that come on these mowers. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with caster wheels, basically they're just big rubber wheels that are put on here, basically in place of a front roller. So instead of a front roller, you would have two wheels on both sides, and that would be obviously how the mower works. Now, me, of course, I decided to get a front roller, and this one is actually from Reel Rollers. They make a really nice grooved roller, so I decided to go with theirs compared to the McLane's. The McLane, they do make a front roller as well that is grooved, but I like this design better than the McLane one. So I don't know if this is also an issue with the McLane's grooved roller, but all in all, it's still an issue, and I have heard of other people mentioning this. So I'm not too sure that they thought about people running front rollers on these, because if you look here on the bottom of my grass catcher, right here, you can see all those marks throughout the whole bottom of the grass catcher. Now, those marks, if you can put two and two together, those marks are from the grass catcher sitting on top of the front roller while I'm mowing and using the mower. Now, I did do a little bit of a modification to try and mitigate that, but however, still isn't really working. So I might have to come up with another solution, or see if I can come up with another solution for it. But that's another reason why I don't like this grass catcher, because the way it's designed, obviously with a front roller, you can't really use it without it sitting and, you know, rubbing on top of the roller if you choose to run a front roller on your setup. Like I said, they thought about the caster wheels, obviously, but don't really think they put much thought into it if someone's wanting to run a front roller on it. So That's the reason why I don't like this grass catcher and I don't like the design of it. Now I'll go ahead and show you the little modification I had to do to try and mitigate that from happening, but even still, it still doesn't really work that well. I'll go ahead and talk to you guys about the grass catcher modification I went ahead and did. So right off the bat, this as a disclaimer, what I did here honestly did not really help me that much at all. It was just something I saw online that some other people, you know, recommended to try. And with me trying it, honestly, I didn't really see that much of a difference when doing this. So just a disclaimer on that. If you're looking to actually solve or have a solution for it, this probably won't work for you. This is just something that I tried and it kind of works, but in all reality, it's not very helpful. So if you look right here where my finger's pointing, this right here is where the grass catcher actually mounts to. So you take where the hooks of the grass catcher are, you go ahead and you just hook it onto that part, and that's where your grass catcher sits. The problem with that is if you're mowing at around 3/4 and below, when you put your grass catcher in the original position, that's when your grass catcher sits on top of the roller and it obviously rubs on the bottom of the grass catcher and it vibrates all the time when you're mowing. So what I did to try and help with that is I got a set of bushings off of Amazon. I think like a 10-pack of just like regular black rubber bushings. And what I did is I took a razor blade and cut notches into the bushing to try and, you know, give it a place for the grass catcher hooks to sit in. Try and show you guys here. So basically try to give it to where the hooks sit into that, you know, little cutout I made with the razor blade on the bushing. And I mean, it does kind of work, but you have to get the catcher to where it's sitting just right. And the problem with this is any little bump or anything you might hit by accident, like if it's a wall you kind of accidentally bump into it, or a bush, even if you accidentally bump into it, the grass catcher pops right off of these and then you got to readjust it and everything else. So that's the main reason why I said I don't like the design of the grass catcher and I don't like how it's set up. I feel like you shouldn't have to obviously make any modifications to make a grass catcher work. And with that being said, that's why I feel like they can design this grass catcher and make it a lot better, in my opinion, because even with me putting the grass catcher on this so-called modification I made, right? I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys right here. As you can see, even with that modification, look how close I am to the roller. Very, very close. I mean, it still is actually touching right now as we speak. Right there, kind of on the other side, it still touches. So that is the main problem with this design of the grass catcher that I don't like. And I feel like they can do a better job at redesigning this. And as you can see here as well, looking at the profile of the grass catcher, here's obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the cutout for the caster wheels. But look at this, just like this block of plastic running across right here, right obviously where the roller is. If they could somehow just even redo this part and like make it to where it's an opening for the roller to not touch, that would be perfect and it would work just fine. But it's a couple days later from when I initially filmed this video, and I did have this part filmed. However, I think what ended up happening is I deleted the clip by accident. So I'm redoing it for you guys because I wanted to include this in here just to show how easy it is to work on this mower. Now, in specific, when you're wanting to backlap. Now, when you go ahead and are ready to backlap this mower, very simple and straightforward process. All you're gonna do is you're gonna remove these two 1/2-inch bolts here, and then this shield pops off. Then there is a chain with 2 sprockets behind this shield. Obviously, you're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the chain, To do that, you just disconnect the master link, chain unfolds, and then when you're ready to go ahead and backlap, you're gonna be using this front sprocket here, which actually spins the reel. Now, the other thing you're gonna need, obviously, when you backlap is your backlapping compound and also the backlapping adapter that hooks up to your drill. Pretty simple and straightforward process. Like I said, I pretty much just walked you through it. I do have a video on how to backlap this mower. If you're curious, I'll try and leave a card here in the corner of the video. That way you guys can go ahead and check it out if you're curious to see how the process is done. So wanted to go ahead and include that, like I said, obviously, as just how easy it is to work on this mower yourself. So, okay, moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the engine I have on this. Now, the engine I have on this is a LCT CM-XX 208cc gas engine. Now, the main reason why I went ahead and got this one is because it was obviously the cheaper option for one, and for two, I wanted to try something different, usually that other people don't really try. That is one thing about me. I'm usually not hesitant to try out different stuff, you know, that goes, I guess you could say, a little bit against the norm. You know, everyone obviously tends to get the Honda because obviously reliability and such and everything else, which Honda, you and I both know Honda engines are by far superior and the best of the best. We both know that. But like I said, I wanted to try something different and see how this would work. So far, I really like it. Honestly, it's got plenty of power for one, and two, starts up on the first pull each and every time. So it's been great so far. Granted, I've only used it, you know, 6.5, 7 months. So how this engine will hold up over the long term, you know, multiple years from now, I don't know. But you guys will obviously find out, since I'll be keeping this mower for a while. So yeah, I mean, all in all, really like this engine. Like I said, it's got plenty of power and it always starts on the first pull, so there's no issues there. The only thing that I found kind of odd with this engine is, for whatever reason, once it's already warm, and let's say I've mowed both my backyard and my front yard, you know, it's been warm, engine's totally warm, it's been running for well over like 30 minutes. I find it kind of odd that usually when I turn it off and I want to go ahead and start it back up, I usually have to go ahead and flick the choke back on before I go ahead and start it up again. I don't know if that's just a quirk of this engine, but it's just something that I noticed that I have to do. Now, there are times it actually has started up without the choke on. Like, there's times it's already been warm and I go ahead and I don't turn the choke back on and it fires back up just in the normal run position. But most of the time I usually have to kick the choke back on to fire it back up and then flick it back in the run position for it to obviously get back up and running again. So I wouldn't say that's something, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it is just a little quirk that I noticed with this engine that was worth noting. So yeah, all in all though, really like this engine and we'll see how it holds up over time. On to the control system. Now, what I will say is this is a super basic and easy to use. It definitely is a little old school, as what I like to say. It just reminds me a lot of older machines where it's like very analog, you know, where like a lot of newer, you know, mowers are starting to go to like, some of them are starting to go to like electric start and like all this stuff, and the levers are more ergonomic, where like you usually have more of like an actual handlebar setup to where you have the lever, you know, some levers that pull in and then you have a lever in the back that pushes forward to help control everything, which I would say that's the more modern approach. This setup is more old school, very analog. I mean, this right here on the right hand side, this lever here is for the rear wheels to help with the self-propelled portion, and then right here on the left hand side, this lever here is the dead man's clutch. So once you're ready to go ahead and start mowing, just drop this down, engages those wheels on the ground, and then once you're ready to start mowing, slowly let this in, and then that will start the self-propelling motion and obviously engage the reel. And then here in the middle, you have the throttle, which is very nice. Obviously, it's just right here. Everything's very simple and obviously right here by the handle. So you're not really having to, you know, go down here, oh, I got to kick on my reel setup down there to, you know, make sure that's on. And then over here, I gotta adjust throttle, you know, like everything's just all right here, which is very, very nice. And I really like that about this mower. Everything's just super simple and basic, which is a huge thumbs up for me in my book. What I will say is if you're looking into getting your first powered reel mower, honestly, something like this, I think you would really enjoy just because of how simple and easy it is to use. Okay, moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the self-propelling wheels here in the back. Now, like I was mentioning when I was talking about the controls, the right-hand lever there on the right side is for these wheels. So I'll go ahead and show you actually. Go ahead, I just dropped the right-handed lever there. And obviously, as you can see, the wheels are now on the ground engaged with the grass. And then go ahead, pull the lever back up, and as you can see, it lifts the wheels up. So these wheels are part of the, obviously, the self-propelling mechanism for this mower. They work very, very well. I have really no issues with them. There is one thing that you guys have to keep in mind and be aware of if you were to get a mower like this. You pop the clutch too fast, like if you pull the clutch in too quick, or if you're on a high spot, since these wheels have tread on them, what will happen is sometimes they will tear up the grass. It's not really that bad from what I've experienced the couple times I've done it on accident, but it is something to just keep in mind and be aware of, that these could rip up your lawn if you're not careful. Will it do a ton of damage? Not necessarily, but just something I wanted to throw in there as well, just to kind of, you know, mention to you guys that if you were to go with a mower like this, is something to be aware of. But overall, the self-propelling mechanism on this mower works very, very well. I have no issues with it. Moving on, so go ahead and talk about is this area right in here. So this right here, this belt is your main drive belt, which is very nice. I like how it's a belt because number one, it's very easily serviceable. As you can see, there's a guard here. There's this rod here, which is for the clutch lever. And then there's one other bracket I think you have to take off. And it looks like a spring maybe. Can't remember the exact process of how you take it off. But as you can see, it's relatively accessible and it's easy to get to, which is very, very nice. Another reason why I like this mower, as I stated earlier, everything's pretty much very accessible and very easy to work on. So, okay, you guys, so one other thing I want to talk about is this 7-blade reel. Now, what I will say right off the bat is McLane does offer a 10-blade reel. Now, usually you wouldn't really need a 10-blade unless if you're cutting at around like ½ an inch or below that, then I would suggest you getting the 10-blade. But this 7-blade reel is going to serve pretty much your average homeowner just fine. You're not going to have any issues, and this thing cuts very, very nicely. I have no issues with the way it cuts at all. In all honesty, it's going to cut way better than any rotary mower that you own. So there is that. As with any other, you know, reel mower versus rotary mower, the reel mower is always going to cut better. That's just the way these things are designed to cut. So yeah, not a whole lot for me to really touch on with this, but like I said, it does cut very nice and it just cuts very well too. So alrighty guys, so for the final thing I want to go ahead and talk about this mower is the overall paint finish of this mower. Now, what I will say right off the bat, I really love the red. I definitely love the all red finish as compared to their older mowers. They used to have like a red and yellow finish, which I thought was a little weird. It kind of reminded me of like a McDonald's mower. That's no knock towards McLane at all, but I just feel like that yellow and red color combo just looks kind of wonky to me at least. So I definitely love this more all red finish. Now it does have yellow wheels underneath, the two main bigger wheels, not the drive wheels, but the other wheels underneath. They are yellow, but you can't really see those. So in all reality, all you see is all the red, which is very, very nice. I really like that about this mower, the all red finish. But what I don't like is the overall paint finish of it. Now, a lot of people online too, I've seen a lot of people mention this as well, is I don't know what kind of paint they use for one, and I don't know what kind of prep they go through obviously to paint these mowers, but the paint on these things are definitely really brittle and pretty cheap in my opinion. It also on the reel. I know a lot of people mention that about the reel. they go ahead and they paint the reel red, which looks very, very nice. Don't get me wrong at all. It definitely looks cool. But once you go ahead and you start using this and cutting with it, and if you go ahead and rinse it off after you've, you know, mowed your lawn when it was wet or whatever, that paint tends to chip off really easily. So in my opinion, I don't understand why they wouldn't just leave it as like a raw finished reel. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't mind that, but I also understand, you know, a red reel, it looks cool and it kind of makes it pop. But, you know, if the paint chips that easily, I don't understand why they, you know, wouldn't just at least offer you like a raw finished option. I feel like that would be pretty cool if they did that. So just one thing to note on the reel, and then also just, you know, the paint finish on the whole mower in general. Granted, more towards kind of the bottom of the mower, obviously, where you can run the risk of maybe bumping into something or whatever. You'll notice that the paint, like I said, is very brittle and it tends to chip really easily. So it's just one of those things too, especially if you're spending that kind of money on a reel mower, and most reel mowers nowadays are running at least like $1,500 and above. People, when they're spending that kind of money, they want to know that the machine is obviously going to hold up over time, and that also includes the overall finish of the mower. Now, like I said, I just feel like they could do a better job with the prep work of it. I feel like maybe the prep's not as good, and then two, I feel like they could maybe be using a better paint with these to, you know, obviously make sure it holds up over time, at least a little bit better than what, you know, they use currently. So just kind of another thing I wanted to throw out there. I know a lot of other people online mention the same exact thing with these, so it kind of obviously resonates with me, and I understand where they're coming from because I have obviously experienced the same thing. So kind of the last final thing I wanted to go ahead and talk about was the paint finish on this. Alrighty, you guys. Well, I think that pretty much concludes my review of my 2024 McLane Low Cut Series mower. That's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy watching this video, please go ahead, smash that thumbs up button for me. As I always continue to say, it really helps me out. It lets me know what you guys are enjoying on the channel. After doing that, smash that subscribe button down below and hit the bell notifications. That way you can get notified for when I upload new videos. I got my social medias in the description below. With all that being said, it's your boy C Pims. Peace out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.